What's going on, everybody? Today we are in the shop in the garage, and what I have for you is a DIY fire starter. So let's get to it. Alright, so a few things you're going to need, and you can use substitutes. You're going to need a wax. I have beeswax. I know that beeswax can be a little bit pricey in craft stores and things like that, but I have about 2 packages of this stuff left over because I also make my own waterproofer, and I'll put a link for that video right here. I'll drop a card. I'm in a shop and I do have woodworking tools, so I have some wood chips that are perfect for it. So you can use different things, even if you're a hobbyist and you have sawdust collected in a dust devil or something like that. That works great, but I find that this larger chunky stuff works great for this. Paired with the beeswax. Then I just have a little stovetop burner here, and this pitcher that you can use for candle making and things like that. And lastly is an egg carton to pour our mixture into, and that's it. So quick disclaimer about the egg cartons. I know a lot of people use them for different things, and there are some concerns about salmonella and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people think that it comes from the chicken meat, but it's actually from the outside of the egg. So if you use egg cartons for crafts, most people don't consider that. I spray mine with an alcohol spray. I don't know if it helps, but just FYI that if you use them for crafts and things like that, to take care of hand washing and all that other good stuff. So here we go. First thing first, we're just going to go ahead and get this burner started. Put it on the lowest setting possible. It does not take a lot to melt wax. And then we're going to go ahead and add some of our wax. I don't really have a measurement on this. I usually use a cup, so I try to keep things pretty close. So I'll do 1 cup of wax. And then add the sawdust to get to the right, to the desired consistency. But it's probably a cup or 2 in there. So just a cup or 2 of wax, and we'll let that get melted up, and we'll check back in a few. Just want to stir this as it warms up. It'll take a little bit. But you don't want the wax to get boiling hot, so keep it on low. Just keep stirring your wax, and it will start to liquefy. And then we'll add sawdust bit by bit. Okay, so this has started to melt pretty good. You can see it in there. Still got the solid bits kicking around. One thing I do want to add is either do this outside. I have a pretty well ventilated shop in here, so either do it outside or make sure you have ventilation. I know it's just wax and it may not be toxic in any way, but it gets a little stinky and might as well just be on the safe side. Now that this has got a pretty good amount of liquid in there, I'm just going to go ahead and add more wax. I'll probably just kill this bag because I don't use it for a whole lot of stuff. The waterproofing stuff that I make, again, I'll drop a link for that. It goes a long way, so now we're just gonna go ahead and let this the rest of this wax catch up. One thing we will do while the wax is melting, we'll go ahead and get our carton ready. I just take a razor knife and separate the top, because I don't use that. So then you just have your individual, sorry, poor camera angle, you just have your individual craters, whatever you want to call them. And then I'm going to go ahead and take off the excess. So there you have it. And these are going to hold our individual fire starters after we pour them. And if you want to, you can trim these little nubs down, or you could just leave them there and they're going to tear anyways, so no big deal. But we'll go ahead and trim them down. Just be careful. There we go. It's ready for... I got a bit of wax in there already, so don't mind that. But it's ready for our individual fire starters. Alright, our wax is entirely melted and hot. We're going to turn the heat up a little bit. So we're still not quite at medium. We're at a medium heat. We're going to start adding our wood chips or sawdust. You can even use lint to our wax. And it's obviously going to take some of the heat out of it. So just add little bits at a time and stir it until you get it to like a slurry. Because you got to remember, we got to be able to pour it into our egg carton. So we'll add a little bit more. You can do this with candles, crayons, you know, those crayon bits your child won't relinquish. Really any kind of wax. Like I said, I know beeswax is a little expensive to be doing this with, but it's what I had, so I just wanted to show folks how, you know, easy it is and fairly inexpensive it can be. A little bit more. Okay, I think I'm going to call that good. Lighting's a little poor in here. But as you can see, it's waxy. Sort of looks like potato sticks. Now we'll go ahead and pour it out into our carton. Let it warm up a little bit more, and then we'll dispense it. Alright, here goes. The mixture is good and hot. Now we're just going to go ahead and divvy it up. Still quite hot, but just wanted to let you guys get a look at it. So the wax works pretty well in these cartons. It soaks into the paper, and once it cools, you'll have a paper shell and some nice wood bits with some wax in there. Alright guys, there you have it. The wax seeps into the paper carton pretty well, and the wood chips, you have a few loose ones on the top. If you turn it, you'll lose a couple, but that's not a big deal. But nice and hard, little we'll call them briquettes of wax and wood chips. So now all we have to do is separate them, and you could do that a number of ways. I'll probably just use a razor knife and pull them apart, but I'm going to go ahead and break them up, and then we'll give them a test, see how long they burn. All right, there you have it, folks. Little nugget, little fire starting nuggets from the egg carton wax and sawdust slash wood chips. The thicker stuff works best, like I said, as far as wax goes. I mean, I imagine any kind of wax would work. You can recycle candles. You could just take the candle and put them in a double boiler, or even warm them a bit in the oven just to get the wax to melt, and you could pour it out. Any kind of wax, old egg cartons, and if you have a shop or anybody, you know somebody that does, you can source sawdust and wood chips and stuff like that. It worked great. We had just over 13 minutes of an active flame. 13 minutes is huge from something that small. So you bring a couple of these with you canoe camping, even backpacking if you needed to. You could use them as a fuel source, put them in a small stove or a burner to cook with a flame that was that intense for that long. So you'd be hard pressed to find a store-bought fire starter that worked that well and was that cost effective. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and you got something out of it, please consider liking, subscribing, and ring that notification bell so when I put out other tips and tricks, you'll get notified. Talk to you soon. Thanks. Have a good one.